Hi, Hui and Lauren here for episode 2 of
Historic Reservations. Today we're at Cured, located at the Pearl. As most of you already know, the Pearl is a unique redeveloped campus that operated as a brewery from 1883 to 2001.
While the campus is not a local historic district, there are many individual landmarks such as Hotel Emma, the original brew house, and Pearl Stable, the original horse barn, which is actually the venue for a historic homeowner fair this year on September 21st.
The administrative building behind us is the original location of the Pearl Brewery president's office. Today it features Chef Steve McHugh's restaurant Cured, where they source regional ingredients to bring you pickled dishes, protein-packed small plates, and handcrafted charcuterie.
Now there are plenty of vegetarian options, and Steve McHugh is championing food sustainability here in our UNESCO City of Gastronomy. He's also a designated leader in the Smart Catch program of the James Beard Foundation.
So if you're feeling hangry, come here to get cured.
Hi, I'm Shannon Miller. I'm the director of the Office of Historic Preservation. We're really excited to be here today with Steve McHugh at Cured. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me here.
You know, obviously we are interested in historic buildings and the historic fabric of San Antonio and how that serves as a backdrop to a lot of things that are important to people. And so just, talk a little bit about what attracted you, why this location for your restaurant?
If you ever saw photos of what the building looked like in 2002 when he purchased it, anybody in their right mind would have just tore it down. It was in really bad shape, and he was just adamant about keeping it and putting it back to its original 1904 footprint.
But there is an addition, right, to the original footprint. I mean, the kitchen is new, isn't it?
The kitchen is new, so everything, the guts of the operation are in new construction. Mm-hmm. So like the bathrooms, the kitchen, our water heater, everything's back there. So everything you see out here is really for the guests.
So some of the original features to the building, like there's the vault behind the bar, right?
The vault's original. If you can imagine 1904, no computers, no USB drives, no flash drives, no cloud, right? The vault was basically the operation safety hub. It's where everything important to this brewery lived.
Yeah.
So if this building burned down, everything in there was still protected. Mm-hmm. It was basically built as a large firebox.
Well, so talk to us about what we have here.
So the name Cured is multi-meaning, right? You know that. It's one, I've battled with blood cancer in the past, and so it was kind of that way of saying, let's do this and let's live life. But two, it represents our style of cooking and our approach to food, which is let's purchase whole animals from our farmers and then process things down as we should. So this is the lifeblood of everything we do here. It is everything. It is the first impression on 90% of our tables that come here to eat, whether it's brunch, lunch, dinner. Everyone starts with charcuterie. And I like to think, the 14-month process that it took us to turn this building into a restaurant, which is crazy when you'd say 14 months. You could have opened 4 restaurants in that time,
Yeah.
But I like to always say that we cured the building as well because it was in really bad shape.
Mm-hmm.
This texture is amazing, and these colors ended up becoming our color palette for our branding, and all of that. We didn't try to take away from it. We pulled from it and used it and borrowed it and said, we're all on this ride together.
So what about the space? Like what are some things that you particularly enjoy about the building?
One, I love this room back here because this room is a representation of how the entire building looked. So the front room is beautiful. It's cleaned up. It's got nice new ceiling. The stucco has all been taken off the walls. It looked like this. And so we decided, the architect had an idea to leave one room as kind of a memory to people as what can happen to a building over 100-something years.
Right.
And I don't know if you know the story behind it, but we had to tear out the original ceiling because it was at one point in its life painted with lead-based paint, so it had to come down. Yeah. It had to be ripped out. Well, we kept some of those panels, right, so that we could understand what it looked like. And we had pictures of how it was built. And the architect had this challenge ahead of him of trying to find somebody to recreate this 1904 ceiling. And so he started calling around to different, and there aren't a lot of companies in the country that'll do that, you know.
Right.
And this isn't a drop-in tin ceiling; it's an actual hammered-in, framed-out tin ceiling. And he started calling around, and he found this company, WF Norman, I think that's the name of it, in Arkansas. And the conversation, they started talking about the building, started talking about the ceiling, started talking about the patterns. And somebody on the phone said, we don't think that's going to be a problem at all because our company built that ceiling in 1904.
Oh my
We
gosh.
still had the original presses. They still had the original
amazing.
schematics. They were able to repress the entire ceiling and send a crew down here to put the whole thing back together.
That's awesome.
So for me, that's one of my favorite stories because there's a lot of little things like that that kind of tug at you a little bit. One, like we'd been open 2 years before my wife even noticed that it said Steve's above the window there. Nobody had ever noticed it.
That's funny.
It's written in charcoal on an old piece of wood.
Yeah.
The wine wall is composed of bricks that were that actual shape that were taken from the boiler house. And somebody was smart enough to pull them out of there, put them on a pallet and save them. And I stumbled across them in a warehouse and said, these are kind of interesting. And I put them together and I said, this looks like it could hold wine. And the architect just ran with it.
Yeah. What do you eat when you're hungry and you're here
Goodness.
at Cured?
When I'm here, well, usually I eat staff meal with the staff, right? Because we cook twice a day for the staff. I try a lot of charcuterie every day because for me, like I said, it is the lifeblood, and I want that consistency to be there.
Right.
I have 2 full-time butchers, and they both do an amazing job. But I just want to make sure that that it's,
that makes sense.
we're not getting away from who we are.
Well, and we love the quail legs.
Yeah, everybody.
They're so good. It's ridiculous. I don't know what you do to them.
Yeah, I mean it's Texas quail, so
Yeah.
it's right up the road locally, and if it keeps y'all coming in drinking, and then we're all about it.
We're
These
the
2
first
right here
thing.
are number 1, number 2 bestseller. It's always neck and neck. Is our apple jalapeno pork rillettes, and then our smoked duck ham. They've been on the menu since day 1. Very simple recipes, but they're very approachable, and that's kind of how the charcuterie menu works. It starts with things that are very approachable and maybe recognizable, and then they kind of get away from that, even to the point where I'm like, I have to ask the butchers, like, what is this
again?
Polish sausage that you put on there, and so it's like they're doing a lot of the research, and so they do an amazing job. But it's kind of and then we have cheese, local Texas cheeses that. Everybody wants a little cheese with their charcuterie.
Yeah.
And then all the mustards, the pickles, the marmalades, they're all made in-house.
That's
So
awesome.
everything on the platter is made here except for the cheese. And of course the platter's handmade by Keith Krieger up in Austin from Krieger Studios. So I mean it's really a lot of fun stuff going on here. So yeah, I would like dive into there and have a little bit of that ham. The crackers are made with PBR, so
Really? That's
Yeah,
fun.
you
I
didn't
didn't
know
know
that?
that.
See?
In terms of the customer experience, like what do you want people to walk away with when they leave Cured?
Well, my goal is always to kind of surprise them a little bit. Obviously, we're making charcuterie, which is centuries old. This is this was survival and preservation for people. So how can I take something that is so recognizable and turn it just a little bit on its head, right? Turn it a little bit on its side and say, these are watermelon rind pickles. Oh, wow, I never would have thought to do that. And this bread's made with PBR. And the gumbo, it's a typical gumbo, but it's made with smoked pork. And so we're always trying to get people to kind of think a little bit and go, okay, that's a little bit different than what I normally would get, right?
Okay, so quail eggs.
Yeah.
They have honey on them. Is
Yeah.
that the secret? Is that why they're so good?
Texas honey and rosemary, and local
Oh,
rosemary.
okay. So yeah, I guess it's the rosemary.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right,
All
we'll
right.
have to have one.
Oh, they look good, nice and crispy.
Hot. So good. Yeah, it's like they're kind of magic. I remember when we first came in, somebody said quail eggs. And it's like, are you saying legs or eggs? Like people always think you're saying quail
Yep.
eggs, and you can just imagine like these little
And they're fried?
fried quail egg or something.
Right? Was it an omelet?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the world's smallest
How
omelet.
many- Well, I think you guys do an awesome job.
Oh, good.
It's one of our favorite spots, and it's been really
I know.
nice chatting with you about
You
it.
as
so
well. I
thank you so
appreciate it.
much.
Thank you.
Don't make the same fatal error that I did expecting quail legs at 11 a.m. They're only served during happy hour. So make sure you join us next time on HPTV.
Oh, and if you know of a great restaurant in a historic building,
Or just one that's been in your community since forever,
like a legacy business,
then leave us a comment and we might just have to book a historic reservation.